and welcome back. Let me know if my voice is a bit bad, but we are back here with the 6 hours of Monza with Aztec Racing. It is still number 998 of Garcia in the lead. I wonder if we had any disconnections. We actually seem to be on a round of pit stops now as the 313 in the pit lane, or the 317 rather, the number 995 with Dulco in the pit lane. But Garcia, since they took the lead with the first round of pit stops, it seems to be that they have stayed in the lead for quite some time. I hope I haven't missed too much, but we definitely seem to be right here in a round of pit stops as our leader comes in. Where are our Bentleys at? It's all McLarens at the front. 415 of Ozer up there as well. Mastromaro and Arriving Flame. Really is all McLarens at the front and two teammates in a P2 and P3. The leading Velocity Endurance Racing McLaren 720S. See if that's still Garcia at the helm. But right at 2 hours left to go in this race. So we had a bit of a 2-hour blackout. So if anybody in the chat can let me know what I have missed in the 6 hour, or the 2 hours I have been gone from the 6 hour, I would greatly appreciate it. This is actually going to be a battle for the lead here. I wonder when Ozer is supposed to come in, if they have come in. Coming through Ascari. Ozer is actually gaining in pace actually quite a bit through Ascari there. Where are our Bentleys? There's Wells. The teammate Bentley of Hines is next in position, but not too far behind overall. Currently under attack from the BMW, piloted by Lodge. Hines currently at the helm of the TRC Bentley. Multiple leagues with representation here in this event tonight. TRC, one of them. XCL, another one of them. Aztec Racing with their own teams here in this 6-hour event. Bentley ended up having to go straight on through Della Raggia. Will re-enter the circuit behind the XCL McLaren there. That should be the 787, and it is, of Arriving Flame. How has it been going, everybody? For those of you who have got teams in the race, has it gone your way? Has the strategy played out the way that you thought it would so far? See, there have been a few scuffles and things are being talked through with a little bit of emotion. Does seem to be that everything's kind of just calmed down at this point. Don't have too many battles for position, it seems. That is the number 99, the GRL Motorsport Aston Martin, which we just saw Nico Lausch, a driver for this team over at the XCL Pro Series. We have had some lap splits, as there's only a few of our cars still on the lead lap. Check in on our was leading right before I had to leave Ford Mustang, the exclusive esports Ford Mustang. I'm not 100% sure if Irish is on this team. We'll have a look. And no, Irish is not, but Unclainer Cross, who we just saw in the XCL Pro Series, is in that Mustang. Do have a battle here beginning to form between Garcia and Mastromaro. I think Garcia may be a bit behind on pace. a second. There we go. Don't know why there's some weird stuff with the keyboard controls whenever you are a spectator, so as of right now I can't really change any can't really change the view very much without doing some weird stuff. But Max Chamorro actually just came into the pit lane, which leaves Garcia out on their own. They just came into the pit lane recently. And I really think everyone has just found their pace, found their rhythm. And we won't see much for overtakes for a while, at least for position. '29 slowly catching the 997. Now, how far is the delta between them? As the 23 goes straight on through foam barriers at the Ritafilo chicane. Number 28 gets a drive-through penalty for track limits. Now, where is the 28? Is that... Oh, they are down. That must have been at Ascari. The gap between the 415 and the 998 definitely seems to have stabilized. It's been right around 3 seconds for a couple laps now. Oser up ahead. As we have the 28 rolling out of the pit lane, clearing their drive-through. HJ in the Ford Mustang into the pit lane. Maybe. A little bit of teamwork between the 999 and the 998. There's a 999 just got out of the way for the leading 415, but he didn't do it in a way to really help the 415 at all. 415 being the MSA McLaren of MSA Autosport, as they do have a few different cars. Patrick Sagic, one of their drivers that we saw with the XCL Pro Series earlier. That gap is starting to shrink between the two leaders. Was 3 seconds with the help of the traffic. Now was 2.5, now 2.3. Still just the meat of the race here. Less than 2 seconds now, 1.988. Bidding for the number 998 McLaren. But it is a McLaren party out here, as Ozer and Garcia continue to duke it out here as they come through Curva Grande. One's at the exit of Curva Grande, one's at the entrance of Curva Grande. Down into De La Raggia. The gap grows just slightly. These two drivers, these two machines seem to be very fairly matched. Burgess comes into the pit lane. The number 99, the GRO Motorsport Aston Martin, sailing right on by. We do have the competitor Aston Martin with the Euro Titans Endurance team, the number 317, with Reddish in the lead, or in the up ahead. Sorry. Bouncing between different events, different leagues. First time that I've done it. It does get a bit busy. And who is that has gone around? That is a number 114 of Cheeseman. Eventually gets it righted and continuing on his merry way. Bit of traffic here at Rettifilo. Ozer comes into the pit lane from the lead, conceding the lead to Garcia for the time being. The 787 McLaren, I believe. It's the 788 Mustang, the exclusive esports Mustang, the one that was leading earlier, the one that sat on pole position. Gets a 30-second stop and go penalty. It's not the end of the world for them, and I don't think they're going to lose position. But it's not going to be what they were looking for, speeding in pit lane, as we have more pit stops continuing. We are one follower away from 440. It'd be really cool if we could hit 450 today. Hour and 40 minutes left to go in this 6 hours of Monza. Does seem to be only a few cars left on the lead lap. But Garcia in the 998 Velocity Endurance Racing McLaren 720S GT3, currently the leading driver, the leading car, the leading team. And this is the first of a multi-round Endurance Cup. not all, but a few of the events not all, but a few of the events you will be able to watch here on RetroVex on Twitch. The next round will be the 12 Hours of Bathurst, which I am absolutely ecstatic that I'm going to get the opportunity to commentate, as that is my absolute favorite endurance event in the world. Yes, it's very unfortunate for the 30-second stop and go, especially after they had just done the driver swap. Uncleaner Cross has to come in after his run in. I thought that was our leader for a second in the 998, but no, it is the 997 that has gone around. That is Boot, and they did eventually get it righted. But yes, Uncleaner Cross, after coming back from Laguna Seca, they put him on the supersonic jet, because there's no way that he got from Italy to Monza in about, from Laguna Seca to Monza in about 5 minutes. But they managed. Didn't even have to change racing suits. Do have a fight here between Tamenga and Reddish. What position is the 999? The 999 is currently in P24. I believe they are 6 laps down. P23 now. Currently P23. Do have a fight here between the Ferrari of Tamenga, and this is a very drastic difference in pace here, as Tamenga is going to pull right up to the rear of the Aston Martin in the Euro Titans Endurance. Aston Martin versus the, I believe that's the Fatch GT, if that's the Fatch GT colors. Yes, that is the Fatch GT Ferrari, and is that the number 23? Can't quite see the number on the side. The 878 Bentley, the TRC Bentley, gets a drive-through penalty for track limits. Yes, it is the number 23 Fatch GT Ferrari 296, chasing down the number 317 Aston Martin Vantage GT3. Arriving Flame coming into the pit lane. We'll see if Aiden66 hops in the McLaren. Just coming back from Laguna Seca as well. Same thing with the number 99 Aston Martin. Nico Lausch coming from there. The teammate Alex MG opting to stay here in Monza with the team. Tamenga actually losing a bit of time to the Aston Martin. The gap had shrunk quite a bit. They were bumper to bumper, but the Ferrari lost a little bit of its run. The TRC Bentley serving the drive-through penalty, and will be through the pit lane and back out shortly. And the drive-through penalty is cleared. Number 787 McLaren comes out of the pit lane. And into Rettifilo. Welcome in, Dirtiest. It was good to see you for the first time with the XCL Pro Series. I believe it was the first time. The number 996 It's a drive-through for track limits. That is Smith in that Ferrari. They will have to come into the pit lane and just cruise on by on the pit limiter. And it is Aiden66 who's just got off the plane from California all the way over to Italy. And if anybody has any specific cars that you would like to check in on, as Wads Live did, you can just let me know and I will give a bit of a wellness check on those cars. And remember, the streams are live on YouTube. If you would like to watch the replays of the streams, you can do so on the YouTube channel. Uncleaner Cross and Silth, less than a tenth between them. And Silth, another driver that you will see with Go Fast Racing and XCL, Xbox Community League. But this is a battle here between these two. This is elbows out. Also, thank you, Dirtiest. We just got to 440 followers. Side by side through Parabolica. Ford versus Ferrari here in Italy. And a bit of a twitch from the Mustang, just unable to hold the grip out around the outside like that. And now, with the fastest lap, we'll drop down to P10. Taminga losing even more time to the Euro Titans Endurance Aston Martin. Just in the background there, the Fatch GT Ferrari trying to chase down the Aston Martin for P5. But as of right now, it's a McLaren lockout in the top 4 positions. The number 99 GRL Motorsport Aston Martin coming into the pit lane, and likely going to be Nico Lausch hopping in. If not, it'll be Alex MG, two GRL teammates from the XCL Pro Series. Also remember the GRL guys from the Charity 24-hour, where we ended up raising, I believe, around $800 for the Wildland Firefighter Foundation. $146 laps complete now, as we have 25% of this race yet to go, an hour and a half of a 6-hour race. We are 3/4 of the way through. Still, I think most everybody is just in hot lap mode. Just trying to put the laps in, head down as fast as you can go. Parabolica goes the Velocity Endurance Racing McLaren 720S GT3 in the lead. And it is Alex MG in the number 99 GRO Motorsport Aston Martin, who is chasing down the MSA Ferrari, trying to get P8 back. It was a much closer gap between the Aston Martin of Alex MG and the Ferrari of Silth. Silth going for an overtake on, I believe, some lap traffic. That is the number 17, P17, number 997 with Boot at the helm. Alex MG also trying to get past a lap down, and I believe it's just because they are off the pit cycle. But if they are a lap down for anything else, I would not know. And that 30-second stop and go with the 788 Ford Mustang, that did end up costing them about a lap. Trying to regain some positions as they are also chasing down the number 99 Aston Martin, the burgundy and gold. But up at the front, it is still fairly close. Garcia has broken free from Tony Garona by about half a lap, but number 415 and 416 MSA cars are both, I believe, pretty close to each other, 4 seconds apart from each other. Yeah, 4.5 hours into a race, and you're 4 seconds apart. I would say that is some pretty close and hard racing. It doesn't really seem like it, because they're a few car lengths apart from each other. As just exiting the screen is the P2 car, and just in the background with the similar livery is the P3 MSA McLaren. Uncleaner Cross has closed that gap to Alex MG quite a bit. We may have an overtake here. '29 is 4.3 seconds behind. Titan, what was that gap a while back? It's 4.3 seconds now. It's actually 3.8 seconds now, so you're right. They are catching pretty handily. after going through the chicane. It was 33.4 seconds. Well, it's definitely closing now. And it's a lot closer. I think it was a mistake from the 997. It went from 2.9 to 0.9 and next to no time. And they make a bit of a touch as the Porsche, I think, tried to maximize the slipstream, moved over a little bit too late. And the number 43 Fatch GT Ferrari off at Ascari, but side by side into Rettifilo. They'll try and get the position away, but the McLaren making itself very wide. Is it going to be late braking into De La Raggia? The Porsche has the nose as they come into De La Raggia side by side on the brakes. They go through door to door. The McLaren still there, still door to door. And the Porsche slots in ahead. It's not over yet, but things are looking a lot better for the Porsche. And at least with the pace advantage, I believe that move is going to be secured for the Porsche. This is a fight that's going back the other way. A mistake opened up the gap for Uncleaner Cross in the exclusive Ford Mustang to go past, but the GRO Motorsport Aston Martin, piloted by Alex MG, they were able to get back with the pace, and they have actually just taken this move right back. This is going to be a back and forth battle for sure. The GRO Motorsport Aston Martin defensive into De La Raggia, but back, trying to take the position back, is the XCL Mustang. Unable to get it done there at De La Raggia. I have a feeling this one's going to be back and forth for a while. Also for P2, that gap getting closer to 1 second. It's pretty late in this race. We've got a few battles starting to heat up. Back on with this battle between GRO Motorsport and XCL exclusive esports. And I think the GRO Motorsport Aston Martin is going to actually be pulling away here a little bit. Some traffic splitting the two MSA teammates, or was splitting the two MSA teammates. Now it is Corona ahead of Mastromaro as they are going to try and reel in the teammate. And I would say this is a pretty talented team, the MSA team, if they are able to be this close to each other this late in this race. Closing in on just 1 hour to go. Uncleaner cross. I thought GRO Motorsport had it locked down, but no, they have swapped positions once again. And they're just going to be continuing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. The Aston Martin chasing down the Mustang. We'll see if they swap positions yet again down the pit straight. The Aston Martin in the slipstream, but it's just hard to pass that Mustang at full breath. At full song. They will just continue to fight back and forth. This is a slugfest here between GRL Motorsport and Exclusive Esports. Through Curva Grande, we'll see if the Aston Martin is able to get a run yet again and may try the lunge into Della Raggia. We saw the Mustang make this move earlier. The Aston Martin will just slot in behind. They are definitely similar on pace, very, very quick between the two. Two tires in the sand for the Aston Martin is not going to help very much. And both of these teams fighting to stay in the single-digit positions. Gap between the two MSA teams in P2 and P3, less than a second now. And no, somehow, Alex MG going for a ride does not lose it. I have no idea how. That Aston Martin did not go into the wall. I'd love to see the onboard of that because that was a wild ride for sure. It's going to open up this fight and put the Aston Martin outside of slipstream range of the Mustang. But a wild ride there. Going on with our leaders. Or not our leaders, but our two McLarens on the podium. Our leader, with 154 laps completed, coming out of Lesmo 2, is over half a lap ahead of these two. Shall see if 416 to be able to overtake the 415. Two teammates, maybe they just lock in together and continue to run on their own. Wells in the Bentley, defending against Heinz in the Ferrari. Big Bentley in P13. Absolutely beautiful car. But under pressure from the Ferrari behind, tries to squeeze them into Lesmo 1. It works. They are forced to stay behind. Now we'll see how long this can go on, though. Not really an opportunity for a move into Lesmo 2. And into Ascari. Bentley is ahead of the Ferrari, but the Bentley's got a lot of defending to do to hold on to this position. It's going to be a drag race down the line towards Parabolica. We shall see who's going to be ahead of the other. The Bentley has the inside into Parabolica. The Ferrari has the outside. But it may set up the old switcheroo, the old cutback. Will not. The Ferrari will be in the slipstream, though. And they will continue this fight for another lap. Fight for P2. It's on between the teammates if they're going to fight for it. Bit of traffic from the 997 McLaren, slowing up the leading of the MSA teammates. And the traffic will slot in between and eventually move out of the way. Out of Parabolica, the two teammates in the slipstream of each other, and I wonder if they're maybe starting to have a little bit of a fight here. I think the 415 McLaren went to the inside to break the toe from the teammate. Go back on board with these two for just a second. They continue their fight for another lap, and it's lasted a whole another lap. As they come down into Rettifilo one more time, Bentley will hold the inside. This time with a bit of contact, though. The Ferrari wanted the inside but wasn't quite close enough. Flash of the light says, hey, I'm not too happy about that. It's just going to be more work for the Ferrari. They have lost a bit of time through Curva Grande there. The Ferrari had the look into Lesmo 1. Ultimately just not going to work there. Now trying it again through Lesmo 2. Wants to get the better run. Will be right there in the slipstream, but is tucked up right behind. We'll see if they even push the Bentley down the run towards Ascari. The Bentley is definitely going to have to be defensive, though. The Vision Racing Bentley against the Ferrari. Into Ascari, nose to tail. As the Ferrari is practically pushing the Bentley through. Side by side into Parabolica once again. This time the Ferrari wants the inside. Tries to get the shorter run, then opts for the long, faster run around the outside to carry more speed. The Bentley once again defensive. And as they come into Rettifilo, this time the Bentley doesn't have to worry about defending, but the Ferrari wants to get a nose at the inside. Problem here is they will be around the outside at Curva Grande. This is K1 Esports versus Vision Racing. We do have a car off. That is the number 43. We've got a few different fights for position here. This one is our closest, but there is also the fight for P2 between the two teammates, who are one behind the other. Have had an off, though, the number 113 McLaren at Ascari. Traffic here going to make an overtake quite hard for the K1 Ferrari. Once again, nose to tail. This time wants to go for the wide run at the exit. Either that or had to catch the car from losing control. I would say that it was more likely the latter. Now coming out of Parabolica, just a few laps away from 1 hour left to go. Hard braking into Rettifilo once again. This time, still, the Bentley doesn't have to be too worried about an overtake from behind, able to take the racing line through. The Ferrari trying to get a nose inside at Curva Grande. They want to set up the overtake into Della Raggia, but it's going to take quite a bit of effort to get it to stick. And now has to close that gap once again. Not too hard for the Ferrari to stay there, but it seems to be very hard for the Ferrari to make it past. Catching is one thing, passing is another, as the great Murray Walker had always said. And this time the K1 Ferrari gets a good run out of Lesmo 2. It's going to be defensive from the Bentley. And a choke point at Ascari means that an overtake is really not going to be on the table for the K1 Ferrari. And once again, nose to tail, this fight has been going on for quite some time with no clear winner here. The Fats GT Ferrari comes into the pit lane. Minga at the helm. We'll see if they do a driver swap there. Still, another lap goes by with this battle, and it's pretty much a record playing on repeat. The 111 K1 Ferrari 296 wants to find a way past the Vision Racing Bentley Continental GT3. This time the Bentley gets a bit of breathing room, as the Ferrari is not right up behind, and it does seem to be. Oh, what has happened here? That was the 788. 788 Mustang with exclusive esports. Fastest lap of the race and started on pole position, but they have not had very good luck today. Looked to be dominant pace at the beginning, but it is just starting to crumble for that Mustang team. Going around at Ascari, and this late in the race, they're still, or they're not on the lead lap, but I don't think they're going to lose too many positions. The drivers overall more spread out. These two that we are on board with, they are 3 laps down compared to the leaders, or 2 laps down, I should say. But this fight has been very, very good. They have been going on for quite some time. The number 999 is P24. Now this time, K1 Ferrari forces the Bentley defensive. The Ferrari wants the nose at the inside, but no, the Bentley doesn't allow it. Parks it on the apex, but makes a mistake, goes too deep. Now the Ferrari has the inside. See if it can outrun the Bentley through Curva Grande, but it cannot. The Bentley gets the better exit. And this has been elbows out for this fight for quite some time. You may think, well, why are we not watching that fight for P2? It's two teammates. I think when that time comes for the overtake there, as we nearly had this fight fall to pieces, they're starting to get a bit antsy, the K1 crew, saying, hey, it's time for us to get past. You've slowed us down for long enough. They're starting to use the bumper to communicate a little bit. Say, hey, I think your time is up there in P13. I think we'd like our ride. If you could be so kind as to get out of the way. But also coming up in this fight behind is our leader, who is actually going to get another lap on this group. And the same song and dances we have seen for quite a few laps. Wells versus Heinz. This is an amazing battle. This time Wells not going defensive into Rettifilo, not feeling that he has the need to. Fixes the mistake from the prior lap and takes the proper racing line through Rettifilo. Doesn't go too deep, doesn't open the door for the K1 Ferrari behind to overtake. Hard the brakes into De La Raggia. That Mustang, or not, that Ferrari still trying to find a way past. Fight between the two MSA teammates. I think they're just going to take care of each other pretty well. This fight between Wells and Heinz has been going on for, well, probably the last 20 minutes. The number 29 Porsche just came into the pit lane. Bentley went a touch wide at the exit of Ascari there. Is this going to open up an opportunity for the K1 Ferrari to find a way past? As I know they are getting impatient. Bentley defensive into Parabolica, not going to be what you want to do because you greatly compromise your exit speed. Final stop for the number 29 Porsche. Coming in from P16. And I think they've just done a driver swap, if you could confirm, Titan. As our leader comes in as well, the number 998 Velocity Endurance McLaren comes in. Toby Cyril in the Mustang comes in. Which Mustang is that? That is the K1 Mustang. Ayers comes in. That does put us right here with Wells and Heinz. Still with this fight, still nose to tail. This has been some great close racing, and we're 5 hours into a 6-hour endurance race. This is the stuff that you love to see. This is why I love endurance racing, because this is the final hour. This is the time if you're going to go to it, you're going to go for it. You want that move, you want that position, now is the time to do so. You've waited however long. You waited 5 hours. You've been in this fight for 20, 30 minutes. You've been chasing this car down for however long. Now is the time to get the move done. You've made it here to the end. It's getting closer and closer to the end, as this is now not going to be the overtake into the pit lane for Heinz, and maybe going to try and leave the Bentley out and get the undercut in the pit lane. We'll see when Wells decides to come into the pit lane. I think we had a bit of a mistake from Maschermaro, as that gap has grown about 7 seconds since the past couple laps. Heinz rolling out of the pit lane. Where is the 112? A few of our numbers are not exactly to what they should be. Alex MG in a fight here with HJ, but Alex MG actually almost lost it there at De La Raggia. This is a fight for position. I believe this is another of the Fatch GT team. This is the Fatch GT Academy team with Verstappen, and they are under attack from the number 315 McLaren. That is the Euro Titans Endurance McLaren. Now I believe we should be expecting a few more. I think a few of our teams have made their final pit stops. This is still battle between Verstappen and I want to say that was Badiali, but I think Badiali may have... Actually, Badiali's way further behind. This was the battle between Giles and Verstappen. Giles with the Euro Titans Endurance McLaren being chased by the Fatch GT Academy team. As of right now, it's looking pretty good for the number 998 team to take home the win tonight. It would be a win for the Velocity Endurance Racing team. Master Chamorro in the pit lane with MSA, Alex MG in the pit lane with GRL, and these are final pit stops. I still think the majority of our teams have come into the pit lanes, but this is where we see the closers. This is the end of a 6-hour endurance race. This is where they pull out their fastest driver. You have them start and you have them finish. Likely going to be Lausch in the number 10, or the P10, number 99 GRL Motorsport Aston Martin. Master Chamorro with the MSA McLaren. Unsure of exactly who they're going to be putting in that McLaren. Likely going to be Erkel and Koglu. Hope I said that right. The number 996, yes. Number 996 is currently in P26, and the number 999 in P25. But these two are running one behind the other, right together. But yes, it is Velocity Endurance going for, and I didn't know it was the first win, but they have had an absolutely dominant pace in this McLaren since they took the lead right before my coverage ended with the damage that the exclusive esports team had to repair on their car. It does seem that we've had a couple retirements, but not too many. The number 995, that is Dulco, and something is wrong with that car. That's like a throttle stuck. Finally got the car shut off. I think that's a hardware issue rather than a car issue. And eventually having to return it to the pit lane. Just as Wells comes into the pit lane from P10. This is going to be their final stop. And I think it's going to be Lloyd back into the Bentley to close for the team. We'll see if we have any more pit stops yet to go. Any pit stops that you will see are the final scheduled pit stops. Put fresh tires and fuel on it. Get back out there and bring it home. Yeah, I am unsure of exactly how that happened. Yeah, I believe that was that looked like a wheel disconnect on the 99. Do have someone off. That is the number 997 McLaren. Boot at the helm, and that was also the Ferrari of Carlos that almost went off behind. Not too happy about that. MSA, the leading MSA team, coming into pit lane for their final pit stop. Still Velocity Endurance Racing team in the lead, trying to bring it home for their first win for the team. These guys have just been absolutely on it all day. Aiden66 putting Exclusive Esports back into P2 after the MSA team came into the pit lane. Two MSA teammates still got a little bit of gap in between them. And it was Lloyd going into the Bentley to close for the team. Wonder if they had to repair any damage, because they did maybe spend a little bit longer in the pit lane. Haz, if you could make an announcement in the Discord that the stream is back, if they would like to tune in for the finish. I still don't have the ability to do that. We don't have to do that tonight, but I mean, if you would make the announcement tonight, but if you can give me the opportunity to do that later on, so that way I can let everybody know whenever I go live in the Discord. Don't know that we have anyone close in terms of Delta as of right now. Still just trying to make it to the end. That's the most important thing. Thank you, guys. Now, who is that together? I don't think that's a fight for position. No, it is not. And our two leaders are not really that far away from each other. Aiden 66 just coming out of Della Raggia, just coming out of Ritafilo into Crevagrande, now into Della Raggia. The Velocity Endurance Racing team is not that far away. And yes, thank you, Haz. I didn't see the ping from the first time, but thank you very much. But if Aiden 66 has the pace, and if he can get into clean air, he could run down the Velocity Endurance Racing McLaren. We could have a fight on our hands for the win coming down to the very end of this race. It's got to be no mistakes from either side. And any mistakes that our leader makes would greatly help the exclusive esports effort. HJ comes into the pit lane with the Euro Titans Mustang. Now the problem is our leader right now is in that slipstream, so in the open air. So we finally got the delta. So it's right around 28 seconds between Garcia and Aiden. And I don't know if anybody can do a little bit of digging or give me just kind of some information. I don't have live timing. I mean, I guess I could start to look this way. I'd just rather not. Okay, so Garcia 47.3, most recent time. Aiden 66, 47.379. Are those, is that right? Oh, they're just running pretty much identical times. So no, it's not going to be very easy for Aiden to try and catch up to Garcia. But it doesn't mean that it's impossible. We'll have to just wait and see what the delta changes to. We do have a fight here for position, though, between Collard and Lloyd. The 111 versus the 818, and this is continuing on. The K1 Ferrari versus the Vision Racing Bentley. And I think the K1 Ferrari is finally going to have that move official. But no, Lloyd wants to fight that one back. It's not over, makes contact, and that's big contact with the K1 Ferrari. I wonder how much damage that's going to be onto the K1 Ferrari. It's a good bit of damage, and that's not how you'd want that fight to go. The Bentley moves up in position. Badiali and Versteeg in the pit lane, the Fast GT Academy team, and then Badiali coming out of the pit lane, one of the K1 McLarens. Okay, thank you very much. I shouldn't have any reason to for the rest of the day, but the next month at Bathurst 12 Hour, I'd be able to let everybody know that I go live, so thank you very much. So 2 seconds has closed in on this gap. It was 28 seconds, now it's 26 seconds. And starting to get into open air is the 787 McLaren, able to close that gap while in dirty air with other drivers. .6 it has stayed. They are running pretty similar. Well, you're welcome, because I am absolutely looking forward to streaming the Bathurst 12 Hour. That is something that I absolutely have always wanted to do, and I will finally get the chance to do it. That is my favorite endurance race in the world. So, thank you very much. I am gracious to have the opportunity. .175 laps complete. I think we'll get right around 190. We won't hit 200 laps complete, but we'll get right around 190. But the gap we are watching is the gap between our leading Velocity Endurance Racing number 998 McLaren 720S GT3 versus the exclusive esports number 787 McLaren 720S GT3. As the gap has actually just grown a second, but I think that may have been because the 787 was trying to get past some traffic. It's a bit of a far-fetched to expect, you know, a second of difference per lap that you would need. But should Garcia get stuck in some traffic, which is possible, could come up to a battle between two drivers up ahead. Collard in the pit lane repairing that Ferrari. Will be rolling out of the pit lane shortly. Two Vision Racing Bentleys almost closing up on each other. Now another pit stop here. Is this not the final pit stop? Is this maybe a change of strategy? Because this is really going to throw a wrench in some things. And is the 998, is the Velocity Endurance Racing team, I believe, Rhonda, you did say that this was going to be their final stop. Is this going to kind of end the exclusive esports, you know, chances to bring home the win here? They are going to lose a position to the 415 MSA team. And they, oh, I thought that was them getting a drive-through penalty for track limits. It was not. But they are going to be in a fight for the final spot on the podium between the MSA team and the exclusive esports team. Well, sounds very good. I am very excited for the Bathurst 12-hour. That is going to be a bit of a Christmas present for me. And we have got a battle on our hands now between MSA and Exclusive Esports. The Exclusive McLaren still trying to warm up those fresh tires, has fresher tires by quite a bit. So in theory should be able to find a way past. Has the 416 made a big mistake there? It looked like they had, but ultimately not going to lose too much time. We've also got a fight between the Euro Titans Mustang and the GRL Motorsports Aston Martin. As we've got 30 minutes left of this race. That gap around 2 seconds. We'll see if the Aston Martin is able to close up and find a way past. It's XCL ahead of MSA. And things are starting to heat up here for the last half hour, the final half hour of this 6-hour endurance event. Hope you guys who have been watching have been enjoying it. Hope you guys who have been driving in it or have teams that you are supporting have been enjoying it so far. This is just the first round of what is really going to be a 6-month endurance cup. Actually quite a bit longer than that, more like 7 or 8 months. We've got multiple 24-hour races involved in this. Multiple 12-hour races. The 346 is around. That is Woodgate. This fight here, they are nose to tail, about to push each other through Ascari. Has Woodgate lost any positions? This is currently P11. These two pushing each other here. This is the fight for the final spot on the podium between MSA and XCL. Both in McLarens. MSA has the inside. We'll see. No, XCL not going to go defensive. They're going to try and hang it around the outside, which will give them the inside for the second part of the chicane, should MSA try to go for that move. Ultimately, they will not. The 346 of Woodgate coming into the pit lane. Wonder if they have damage. They did just have an off at Lesmo 1, or at the Lesmos. It was kind of right between the two. This fight here with 30 minutes left, 29 minutes, 30 seconds. And we have a fight for the podium. 5 hours and 30 minutes. They have been racing, they have been fighting for positions, and it's going to come down to this. This is the very end of the race. This is what you've been racing for. This is what you've been saving all this time for, trying to drive as safe as possible, not deal with any penalties, do things the best that you can, and bring it home, or at least bring it almost home. And then you really want to go hammer down, try to bring home the best result you can. You want to win, you want a podium. That's what both of these guys right here are fighting for. They're fighting for the final spot on the podium. It's not like they're fighting for P2 and P3. They're fighting for who gets to stand up there and who doesn't. And as of right now, 8-66 with the XCL crew, the Exclusive Esports team, wants to put the organization up on the podium. get something added on to the website. And MSA wants to get up there with their teammate and have two MSA cars on the podium. Still nose to tail, and we've seen this before. Go back to that fight earlier between the Fats GT Bentley, or the Fats GT Ferrari and the Vision Racing Bentley. Side by side into Della Raggia. Aiden 66 has the inside. And a bit of the sausage curb. From P8, Hart comes into the pit lane with the Fats GT Mustang. And Blue Frog has a drive-through penalty with Nico Lausch right behind, so Nico Lausch will move up a position. I don't believe Uncleaner Cross will. Don't believe Lloyd will. Back on board with this fight for position, and they are absolutely squeezing each other to the every last drop, trying to defend or offend for the position. And this is going to be a mighty battle to the end. The MSA McLaren losing out a bit of time at the exit of Ascari. Still right there to contend. They were too wide heading into Ascari, which is very hard to make that work. And as of right now, the 416 MSA McLaren with a bit more work to do. Just standing right outside the podium, the outside looking in. They want to get on that podium. They're going to have to get past that purple McLaren in order to do so. Our leader, Velocity Endurance Racing Team, out front by quite a large margin. The P2 car is just now heading into Lesmo 1 as we are just heading into Rettifilo, so that's over half of a lap of a lead. So as long as no funny business happens to the number 998 Velocity Endurance Racing McLaren, it should be a first-time victory for the Velocity Endurance Racing team. And I know Mr. Bossman is here in the chat, very much hoping for a Velocity Endurance win here to start the Aztec Racing Endurance Cup. The MSA McLaren still right there. The XCL McLaren can't quite shake him, and there's a bit of traffic up ahead. Now that what that traffic is going to do is give some slipstream to these two. It's going to put an equalizer between Aiden and Hoopert, at least for the time being, before they get into Parabolica, now nearly bumping each other all the way through. Now they're going to be side by side as they come across the line. A bit of a crossover. Now the MSA McLaren looking up the inside. Are they going to have to thread the needle with the traffic? Some flashing lights from Aiden. Now the traffic moves to the inside. That's going to squeeze the MSA McLaren. Then hard braking into Rettifilo. Just having to slot in behind. Not going to be an overtake for position there. But it is brewing. There is going to be a change of position for P9 and P10, I believe. Actually, at least for P9, as Blue Frog has to come in and serve a drive-through penalty for the Euro Titans Mustang that is going to move the GRL Motorsport Aston Martin up into P9. Side by side yet again into Della Raggia. The XCL McLaren edges out the MSA McLaren, but now wants to move into Lesmo 1. It's going to be a very aggressive overtake here, but he's going to go for it side by side, door to door. They are banging doors together. Now the MSA McLaren has it for Lesmo 2. Is the XCL McLaren going to be able to fight it back? It's a poor run out of Lesmo 2 for the MSA McLaren, and the XCL McLaren is now going to have the better run down to Ascari on the racing line and has a nose ahead, but it's going to be side by side. I don't think Actually, the XCL McLaren able to slot in ahead. I figured it was going to be side by side like they tried to do a couple laps prior, but no. Going to stay and try to survive for another lap or so. Blue Frog in the pit lane serving that drive-through penalty. And Uncleaner crossing the 788, I don't think is going to be able to get past. No, they will not. But where Blue Frog does come out, Uncleaner Cross is closing in, but it's not really going to be too much to go for position. It does seem to be that some traffic has opened up this fight between the XCL McLaren and the MSA McLaren. 22 minutes left to go. That gives us about, say probably 20, not 20, I'd say give us about 12 or 13 more laps to go. So I think we may actually end up making it to about 195 laps. I don't think we're going to get to 200 laps in this 6-hour race. That gap that had opened up to over a second between Aiden 66 and Hooper did not last very long, as it is now right there in the slipstream range. The MSA McLaren goes very wide at the exit of Parabolica, maybe sacrificing a track limit warning for a better boost of exit speed. We'll see if that was able to play into their hand at all. Crucial for the MSA McLaren here is to stay within the slipstream of the XCL car. If they fall out of that slipstream range, it's going to be very hard to try and gain that back should the XCL McLaren get within the slipstream range of another car up ahead, be it lap traffic or whatever. And I believe this is going to be one of our only fights for position. If anybody has any insight on another car that is looking like they are going to be fighting for position, please let me know. But as of right now, this is our fight on track. And until something breaks one way or the other, this is going to go all the way to the end. Not one driver giving an inch, but it seems like as soon as one thing happens to another driver, that something equalizes them both and they go right back to nose to tail here into Ascari. A bit of a bump between, as Hooper's using the bumper to communicate. Says, hey, I'm faster than you. I'm going to try and get past you. Right up against each other. And Aiden not really trying to break the slipstream, but does just go defensive into Parabolica. Very dangerous to do so because you greatly compromise your exit speed. And the MSA McLaren now going to try and drive around the outside. And it is now a drag race, but it's a dead heat between the two. They are the same car, likely going to be on a very similar tune, but hard braking right between them, side by side, door to door, into the first chicane. The XCL McLaren once again lines out ahead as they exit Rettifilo. 0.06 of a second between them when they came across the start-finish line. And this is a fight right here to the bitter end. The 878 Bentley backwards at De La Reggia. Not sure of exactly how that happened, but trying to get back across the track without disrupting the flow, and I believe they have done so. Still, just once again, it's the same song and dance between the XCL and MCA cars. Now, the XCL car there got a bit of a wiggle. They are going to be on fresher tires, so should pace fall off start to become a topic of discussion with this fight, it's going to be more in the favor of the 787 McLaren. They bang doors there going into the braking zone of Parabolica. And once again, side by side, as this fight has been going on for quite some time. I can only imagine the nerves from both of the teams, both the drivers and the teammates watching, just sitting there saying, don't mess it up, don't mess it up, don't get caught in an incident, and cheers when the fight goes one way and sighs when the fight goes another way. But door to door, there's no cheers and no sighs. With that run through there, they're still side by side all the way from Rettifilo to Curva Grande. They're banging doors down Curva Grande again. The XCL car has the inside, but the MSA McLaren will be able to get on the brakes later into Della Raggia. Has the inside for the first part, will not have the inside for the second part, and still door to door, still banging doors as they come through Della Raggia. The MSA McLaren of Hooper not happy about that contact there, but I mean, it is racing incident and they're still not really losing any time. But the flashing of the lights there just saying some communication. This is elbows out, door to door banger racing if I have ever seen it, and this is what we race endurance races for. You could do this in a 30-minute race. Yeah, you could have racing like this, but these two teams with multiple different drivers, after 5 hours and 45 minutes, here we are in the final 15, 16 minutes of this race, door to door, banging each other for position. And you could very easily just throw it all away right here, bend the car into the wall, damage it completely, and have it all be over. But that's the risk that these drivers are willing to take right now. This is for the podium. This is for the final spot on the podium. And now very, very defensive goes the XCL McLaren. Tries to force the MSA McLaren to go very narrow to the inside. Now switches back to the outside. This is opposite what we have seen from the XCL McLaren take. They usually take the outside line, but going to be able to close it off enough, park it on the apex into Rettifilo. The 878 Bentley of Smith coming into the pit lane. Now this time the MSA McLaren has the inside for Curva Grande, and the XCL McLaren will have the inside for Della Raggia. We've seen this fight go back and forth multiple ways, but the MSA McLaren might be able to get it done here. Yes, they do. At least they get it done at Della Raggia into Lesmo 1, though. The XCL McLaren, as they are pushing each other off the track, does have the inside for Lesmo 1, and we saw this move between the MSA McLaren now getting it all the way blocked off. The XCL slid in front of the MSA. A bit of a slide job there coming out of Lesmo 1. Got it blocked off before Lesmo 2, and now running into Ascari once again. Still 15 minutes left in this race. A couple laps ago, the gap between them, 6 thousandths of a second at a timing line. That time it was 12 thousandths of a second. And these drivers are fighting tooth and nail. I told you this was going to be a slugfest, and it absolutely has been. Back and forth and back and forth. The MSA McLaren cannot find a way past, and they are on further degrading tires. The 787 McLaren came out of the pit lane ahead of the 416 MSA. And I don't remember the exact count of the laps since the pit stop, but the XCL McLaren is going to have much fresher tires than the MSA McLaren, but that doesn't mean that the MSA drivers can't absolutely drive the wheels off of it. Now the MSA has an advantage coming out of Rettifilo. They make a touch of contact between the bumpers. And now the MSA McLaren fully ahead, has locked in P3 for the time being, but it's not going to come that easily. Remember, the XCL McLaren has fresher tires. It's going to be a lunge into Della Raggia. It's not going to happen that easily. And they are still door to door, side by side. A bit of an overzealous run out of Della Raggia from the XCL McLaren will open up the gap slightly, about a quarter of a second. But look at that, 42 thousandths of a second when they came across that last timing line. As we are getting down to the wire, well into the nitty-gritty. Into Ascari. This time the script has flipped as the MSA McLaren is ahead of the XCL McLaren and just pushing for every little bit. You can see him fighting the steering wheel through Ascari, just pushing for every last bit of pace that they can find. The gap has grown though. Remember, the XCL car, the purple car, does have more tires in it than the 416 MSA. And as long as Aiden can stay within the slipstream of the MSA car, this battle is not one bit close to being over. Just outside of that slipstream range as they go down the straight. We'll see if a difference in exit speed may have brought him back in. And when they come into the braking zone for Rettifilo, not the best exit of Rettifilo for the MSA McLaren, getting a lot of the sausage curb. That's going to make it not as easy to get on the power. And at the next timing line, we'll see where the gap stands. Again, crucial for Aiden to get within the slipstream range of the MSA. Gap stays about the same. Touch of tires in the sand for the MSA McLaren, and that will slow them down a little bit. Open up the opportunity once again for the XCL. All this time, the Velocity Endurance Racing car is actually right behind this battle for P3. Hooper now properly scored ahead in P3. It's two MSA teams, two MSA cars on the podium. And Aiden has got to do everything that he can to try and claw back some track position compared to his competitor just ahead. Into Parabolica. Depends on where the tire wear for the MSA McLaren is going to be. And if someone can tell me the lap that the MSA McLaren last came in on, or at least how much time was left when the MSA McLaren came in. Because I believe the 787 XCL McLaren was one of the last cars to come into the pit lane. Ended up coming out of the pit lane just ahead of the 416 McLaren. It's now head down for both of these drivers as they've got to just try. The 416 MSA McLaren needs to try and run away from the XCL McLaren. Remember, the XCL does have fresher tires. Unsure of exactly how much tire difference there is going to be in pace as we get closer and closer to the end of this race, as we are within the 10-minute window. So we've only got a handful of laps left. I'd say about 5 or so laps left. About a minute and 47 seconds per lap. And very smooth through Ascari is the MSA McLaren, calm and collected, and starting to pull away a bit from the XCL 787 McLaren. That gap really starting to open up now. I wonder if maybe Aiden had driven the tires off of that McLaren. Maybe they didn't even come for tires. Maybe they just took fuel. It was a quick stop. I would expect they would have taken fuel or tires. And Clorpt, if you're still here, if you would be able to maybe let me know what the exclusive eSports 787 team did at their last pit stop. I know they did a driver swap, so I would assume that they would do tires. But as of right now, it doesn't really seem to be any advantage between the XCL and MSA cars. Gap almost 2 seconds now. Not over yet. We're getting close to it. And a bit of an overstep for the 787 McLaren. That is going to open up that gap a bit more as they come to the line. 2.3 now, lost almost half a second there at the exit of Lesmo 2. And it really is going to come down to the wire. So long as the 416 MSA McLaren does not make any mistakes, it should be a double podium for the MSA crew. They even got pole earlier in the XCL Pro Series 6th round at Laguna Seca. The race did not go as well, but they did get the pole position there. We have any other fights for position? Nico Lausch up into P8. Lloyd 10 seconds behind Uncleaner Cross, but I don't think that's going to be a lapse in time that can be crossed very easily. I think most drivers are pretty well separated from each other. And somehow I got my cameras back. That was very cool. .5 seconds the gap now between the XCL McLaren and the 416 MSA McLaren. And it's starting to look a little bit grim for the XCL team, hoping for a podium today. A good finish regardless for the championship points, as there will likely be XCL teams in every round of this championship. I was really hoping for a top 10 for the Vision Racing Bentley, but I don't think it is quite going to happen unless something happens to the Mustang of Uncleaner Cross, who is just now coming into De La Regia. But Just a couple minutes left in this race. This next lap will be the final lap of the race. I believe it's going to come very close. It may not end up being the final lap of the race, but actually it will not end up being the final lap of the race. We will have 2 more laps, this one and one more. Sorry, this next lap and then one more lap. So when they come across the line, the next lap will be the final lap of the race. 2.3 seconds, the gap between the MSA and XCL teams. But this is who all the eyes are going to be on. The Velocity Endurance Racing team. Just a bit longer to go. A lap and 2/3. Just a few minutes away from victory lane. A few minutes away from the top spot on the podium. It is about all come crashing down for the Velocity Endurance Racing team. Emotion will probably be absolutely through the roof, but just takes a minute. Got to get there first. Keep the nerves calm. I know the teammates are probably all really hyped up, ready to take home the checkered flag. Ready for all of the headlines, but they've got a little bit longer to go. Coming into Parabolica for the second to last time. What has happened? Sorry, I was looking at a little bit different gap. I thought that Aiden had gone 31 seconds back from Hubert. The number 998 Velocity Endurance Racing team, McLaren 720S GT3, as the number 814 Mustang, ignoring some blue flags there. Not really letting our leaders go past. Now they do at Curva Grande. But the Velocity Endurance Racing team looking for their first victory. And as the clock comes down to 0, they've got just couple more sectors to do so. I know the boss man is in here and he is very hyped up about it. She got to finish first and just a little bit longer to go. Coming out of Lesmo too. Rolling down the hill towards Ascari. This is the final lap of the race. Just got to survive Ascari one more time. We've already crossed the final sector time, this final sector line. And with the flags waving on either side, hammered down under the gantry at Parabolica as they go for the teammate. A great big old slide through Parabolica for us. With the teammate lineup at the line. It's going to be Velocity Endurance Racing team pushing each other together as he pushes the teammate around into the pit lane. Velocity Endurance Racing team takes home the checkered flag with their first ever win. This will stay on board. I would recommend getting out of the way at least, maybe do the donuts down at Rettifilo. But we will watch as the rest of the field comes across. It is Donuts from the Velocity Endurance Racing team, as we have had, I believe, a few driver stint penalties get added. Those will be negated after the race. As we await the MSA Autosport P2 car to come out of Parabolica and take the second spot on the podium. It is going to be P2 for MSA Autosport with Tony Corona at the wheel, bringing it home. And Hoopert coming out of Ascari to bring it home. P3, the final spot on the podium. And down into Parabolica for the final time. To bring home the final spot on the podium, the number 416 MSA team. And excitement all over. But the Velocity Endurance Racing team takes home their first victory with Garcia. There's quite a few. There's 2 Garcias. There's more Garcias per car than anyone else on the grid. But the Velocity Endurance Racing number 998 with Garcia, Carroll, Michaels, and Nash bring home victory here with Corona and the Velocity Endurance Racing team in P2, or MSA with the 415 in P2 and MSA in P3. It's Velocity Endurance Racing P1, MSA P2, MSA P3, XCL P4. It is Euro Titans Endurance P5. It is GRL Motorsport P6, Euro Titans P7. It is, I believe, it's the number 84. If it's the number 84, I believe it's the Fats GT. Tamenga, Giga, and who else? If I can remember which team that is. That is the Fats GT team. And then Silth with MSA, the MSA Ferrari, Uncleaner Cross with the XCL Mustang. The Vision Racing Bentley P11. Woodgate in the... Which car was that? The number 346. If I can find Woodgate on here, that was actually the number 71 Ferrari, the MWCC Ferrari. Collard, as that is actually, I'm not going to have enough time to read it. The official results will be posted in the Aztec Racing Discord. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for staying with me throughout 2 different events over the course of 6 hours. If you like the streams, please click that follow button, get us to 450, possibly even 500 followers. If you wouldn't mind subscribing to the YouTube channel, I would greatly appreciate that. And if you would like to support the streams, the best way to do so is with a Twitch subscription or a Twitch Prime subscription, either which will work for me, and I would greatly appreciate it if you would do so. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in. Thank you for staying with me all the way throughout. And that is going to bring an end to tonight's stream. Thank you all for coming.